What's going on, everybody? So, a little bit of new long-form content that I'm going to try out. Some thoughts, predictions, theories, all that kind of good stuff. Maybe some reviews here and there. For those of you new to the channel, I'm author Matthew Romeo. I'm an indie author, storyteller extraordinaire of sorts. I also like to goof off here on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. So you can find me pretty much anywhere. And I don't know if that's a good thing or not. So before we get started, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the notification bell, and please leave your thoughts in the comments. I'm definitely in need of content ideas, so just hit me up there. So I wanted to talk about this topic last week, but I needed to formulate all my thoughts and whatnot instead of just rambling like a madman. And I'm definitely a little late on this train by about 2 months, but I binged the entirety of Blue Eye Samurai last week, well, at least season 1. And that show is phenomenal. All other YouTubers have been singing its praises, so there's not much more I can say on that front. I re-binged it, and it's just as good, if not better, on the second run through, but just got a couple of thoughts here and there on this show. And not to sound like a repeat of all other YouTubers and reviewers out there, but this show was so phenomenal. I felt things that I hadn't felt for media in a long time. And that's saying something. Like, I'm very media savvy. I delve into books, comics, movies, shows of all sorts. And this was the first show in a long time that really just hit me right in the feels. I am 100% in love with Mizu's character. Don't know what that says about me as a person. Don't know if I should be in love with a anime character like that. Is it weird? Yeah, it's a little weird, but let's move on. But I just found Mizu's story so compelling, so resonating, and just it was so beautiful and artistic that I just have to jump aboard this hype train and talk about it. First and foremost is that this show was such a great subversion of the Mary Sue archetype. Everyone on the internet probably knows what a Mary Sue is. For the rare few of you that don't, Mary Sue is basically a wish fulfillment character. The female version, there's a male version known as a Gary Stu. They're basically just perfect, flawless, self-insert characters that can do no wrong and are just so stupidly overpowered. And we've been seeing these a lot in the last couple of years, at least with regards to the strong female protagonist archetype. I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm so sick and tired of seeing the strong female protagonist trope. It's probably because I'm a misogynist, but whatever. Anyways, these wish fulfillment Mary Sue characters have been kind of taking the limelight away from actual well-written characters in a lot of media. But there are a few gems here and there that stand out. Most notably, Mizu in Blue Eye Samurai. Of course, there are well-written female characters in all kinds of other media. In House of the Dragon, Game of Thrones, Avatar: The Last Airbender, Arcane, the list goes on and on with very well-written female characters. But today I just wanted to gush about Mizu and how I think that she was actually a bait and switch for the Mary Sue archetype. So the show starts out the way we've kind of been seeing a lot of these action heroes lately, which is this androgynous character going to town, being a badass, taking names, kicking ass, and being the snarky, cocky, lone gunslinger of sorts. Mizu is our main protagonist. She is dressed as a man to get away with being a samurai in feudal Japan. She also conceals her blue eyes because she is half white, which is a big no-no in that time of Japan. And in the vein of the Mary Sue archetype, Mizu starts off with that insufferable, cocky attitude that all of them have. She's the bestest ever at everything that she's doing. She's the greatest swordsman. She's beating all of the other greatest swordsmen. And she kind of seems like she may end up being just a one-note Mary Sue character. But then we get the rest of the series. An addendum to that, after rewatching the first episode, you do see the little nuggets of deeper character in Mizu. Throughout the rest of the series, each episode is dedicated to unveiling a little bit more of Mizu's character. The first 2 episodes, we get that cold exterior, but you see a little bit of the warmth in there when she accepts Ringo as her pseudo-apprentice. She shows respect where it is needed. She shows mercy where it's needed, and she shows compassion. My favorite episode, and probably a lot of other people's favorite episode, is episode 5, where we get the full detail of Mizu's backstory, at least as a young adult, in her first marriage with Mizuki. This episode hits so hard because We've seen Mizu being this tough, cold badass throughout the entirety of the show, but in this episode, we get to see her softer side. We get to see her take off the mask, per se. We see her laugh, we see her vulnerable, we see her sensitive. There's a great scene where she actually gets to be a woman, and that is what I think is so powerful about her as a character, is that yes, she is trying to act as a masculine, like androgynous figure, but beneath that, she is still a woman. We get to see Mizu at her most vulnerable time, which I think is so powerful for her as a character, and it's really what made me fall in love with this character. Then after that episode, we still see her being the badass that she is, but as those cracks have formed and they're widening, she's off her game in a sense. Like the demons in her head are just throwing her off balance, and when she's going through the gauntlet in Fowler's castle and getting into combat with Fowler himself, she's not ready. Like, yeah, sure, she can complete the gauntlet and she outsmarts a lot of the stuff in the gauntlet, but once she reaches Fowler, she's so unbalanced, so physically just beat to hell that she's no match for him. And here we have another great subversion of the Mary Sue trope, which is she gets her ass kicked in this show. Not just by the big bad boss either. She gets her ass kicked by his goons, some random goons at that. Her first fight with Fowler is so impactful because it shows when she's not on her A game, she's gonna get her ass beat. But also it does a great job at showing how much of a threat Fowler can be. Like before this, he's been kind of this soft-spoken, charming-ish kind of Irish guy. You know, you don't really think he's much of a threat just by kind of looking at him. But then when you get to this scene, you see how conniving, cunning, strategic he is, and just how much of a powerhouse he is. And this is what also affects her character as well, is that she is now put up against a force that she's not able to match with mere physical might. She has to outsmart him, she has to think tactically, she has to be cunning, and then she also has to rely on her strength alone. So yeah, I could gush all day about Mizu as a character, but you've probably heard it on dozens of other channels at this point. For those of you who have not seen Blue Eye Samurai, I cannot recommend this show enough. It was the easiest binge I've had in a long time, probably since the first season of Arcane, which really excited for Arcane Season 2 to come out, and now I am equally as excited, if not more excited, about future seasons of Blue Eye Samurai. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, this was very different for me. I'm not used to long form content on YouTube, so I'm gonna experiment with this a little bit more here and there with different subjects. If you have anything you want me to try and talk about, feel free to put it in the comments, and I'll see you all out there.